Four. We're talking Fantastic Four. Is that a good way to start a video? Probably not. But Fantastic Four first steps. Uh, eh. I thought I might like it more than what I actually ended up. Eh. It's such a medium floor, low ceiling movie. It felt like Marvel really playing it safe. I know they're trying to like get their mojo back. I know not everyone loves Phase 3 and Infinity War and Endgame. In fact, we're starting to see, at least on Twitter, a lot of people start to say Infinity War and Endgame weren't as good as people remember them. Maybe, but it was pretty epic at the time. And Phase 4, Phase 5 have been really bad. I'm not the only person that feels that way, right? And this year, Captain America Brave New World, I was hopeful about. And it's another movie that's really focused on plot and not a lot on character development or thematic development. And it ends up falling kind of on its face. It has some nice sequences, some nice scenes, some nice moments, but it's just not a movie that brings everything together. Like, good movies, I'll say this: good movies focus on three things: its plot, its character, and its theme. And most scenes in a movie emphasize one of these things. They develop the characters, they push the plot forward, or they're developing theme. So if you ever see a scene in a movie and you're like, what was the point of that? It was probably theme. Those scenes are theme related. People get that way with No Country for Old Men. They're like, why did it end that way? What? Why do we go back to the old cop? Theme. It's because that's the actual theme. Like the plot was around Llewellyn and Anton Sugar, but the actual theme has everything to do with Tommy Lee Jones's character. Fantastic Four First Steps, same with Captain America Brave New World, just had no thematic development and barely any character development, especially for the main character in Captain America Brave New World. Thunderbolts did a much better job at this. Like from the very beginning, it was so theme focused and theme oriented. You can feel it, and that gives Thunderbolts a dimensionality that resonates with the characters. It resonates with each scene. You can feel that subtext kind of carrying through, and it builds and builds until it has this crescendo where plot, character, and theme all arrive. I think Thunderbolts is one of the few movies in the MCU in the last handful of years that really handled plot, character, and theme well. Superman's another one, good with character, but not so much with, maybe somewhat with plot, not so much with theme. I don't know. Superman just didn't land for me the way that I hoped, and that's mostly because I like a balance between super and man. And I just recently rewatched all the Superman movies, like all of them that have ever existed. And that balance seems like it's never quite right. And James Gunn leaned way into the man because he's very aware of how Superman's been portrayed. And I just didn't like any of the super. Fantastic Four, I don't think has the same highs that Superman has. I think if we're putting them head to head, Superman has more style, it has more flair, it has more world building and character development and actual writing to it. And so I would say it's probably the superior movie. Fantastic Four is just so safe. They're playing it so safe. And it's a shame because two of the writers, like Josh Friedman, has done some good stuff. Transformers 1, he was a co-writer on that. And then there was Black Widow. I'm a fan of Black Widow. I guess not everybody is, but to me that movie was actually really thoughtful. It felt a lot more in the vein of Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier to me. I thought it was a good time. And I guess not a lot of people agree. But Josh Friedman worked on two projects I really liked. And then Eric Pearson did the story and helped write Avatar Way of Water, which if you haven't seen Avatar Way of Water or you don't think it's good, but Avatar Way of Water is excellent. One of the best movies of the year that it came out was that 2022. And he's involved with, Avatar 4. Like he's somebody else who has a good background. And yet this movie just doesn't feel like it got developed in a meaningful way. The themes kind of feel all over the place. Like I'm somebody who explains themes for a living, and I'm trying to write about Fantastic Four First Steps, and this is one of the few movies that I've watched where I'm just like, theme? Because it starts off seeming like it's going to be this dovetail between the baby coming and Galactus coming, but then the baby's there. And Galactus arrives, so it transitions to the threat that baby's face, and that you have to, as a parent, as a family, kind of eliminate to protect this next generation of child, I guess. But then the world's involved. It's just thematically a little messy. Like the through line's not there. I watch Eddington and I'm like, oh, I get Eddington. Here are all the themes that are going on. But then Fantastic Four First Steps, I'm banging my head into a wall because it's not put together in a way that works. And I don't think that's on the writers probably so much it is on MCU. Like I never know how to say his last name, Feige. I feel like they're in such a weird place with that movie and the MCU in general, and trying to have ownership of everything and make it good for broad audiences, that they end up being really stagnant and stale and have kind of lost whatever mojo they may have had for a little point in time. I was going to say like Thor Ragnarok had mojo. Josh Friedman, who, I just mentioned as one of the writers, wrote Thor Ragnarok with other people, but I don't know what it was about this one that just came out so safe and pale. And did I use milk toast already? I guess milk toast is the word I would use. There's cool stuff with Galactus going on. Like I like the Galactus parts and some of the shots of Galactus, but a lot of that was just in the trailers. You don't get much of Galactus doing cool stuff that wasn't really in the trailers. And he feels like the most energized part of the movie, but also, the thing that we see the least. Same with Silver Surfer. It has some interesting thoughts and concepts going on there, and maybe the potential for a story, but it's not built out. And even each of the Fantastic Four characters are really bland. They're just one-dimensional people, right? Like Sue is just mom. Reed is just ideas. Thing is just, or Ben Grimm is just Natasha Natasha. And then you have Human Torch, who's just like Johnny Storm, and just being like, okay, I'm gonna focus in on this girl and language. That's it. There's no real arc to any of the characters. They're not overcoming anything. They're not doing anything aside from trying to deal with this one plot points. But what any of it really means to them outside of like the general stakes, there's not much that's there in terms of personal arcs and personal development and personal wins and what each of them is fighting for and trying to accomplish. Like as much as I don't like the 2000s, like the aughts, Fantastic Four movies, they handled this a little better. It's just so weird that the MCU could have essentially an unlimited budget and keep putting out movies that are so lifeless or stale or taking shortcuts, like poorly put together. It's frustrating. It's because you see the potential, they can be good. But I just rewatched all the Zack Snyder Batman movies or Superman movies too, and it's another thing. Like this guy had unlimited budget, and the movies make so many odd choices along the way. And just like, why do you have to play Wonder Woman's theme every time she's on screen? Like every time. It's a 4-hour movie, Justice League is. You don't have to play her theme 45 times because she just happens to be on screen or there's an Amazonian on screen. I wish the genre was better than what it's been recently. It's like we saw so much potential in superhero movies when Iron Man came out, followed by Batman Begins into Iron Man into the Dark Knight. It seemed like this new era of where things were going to go, and phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 weren't perfect, but you had a lot of cool, impactful like movies that I think were good times, that I really enjoyed that era of superhero movies and thought we were just going to get better. And instead it feels like the whole genre has gotten much worse. At least we have the Batman. Hopefully the Batman 2 is good. Like I just hope the Batman 2 is good if it comes out. The script's done. We have the script, so we'll see if it what happens when it comes out. But I don't think superhero fatigue is the thing. I just think quality has suffered so much that people have lost faith and hope that we're going to get good superhero movies. And maybe it's just like the same people are over top of these things. Like, even though James Gunn's just taking over the DCU and doing his own thing with it, he's still been one of the main people driving superhero aesthetic and superhero style since what, 2014? The last 11 years, his voice has been a major one in terms of MCU characters and voices, and now we have even more that he's going to be doing that all feel very James Gunn. So you had this genre dominated by the MCU in-house style, and then Zack Snyder, and then James Gunn. It's like you have these personalities that keep owning the superhero space rather than it being a lot more democratic and letting a lot more styles and voices and storytelling come in and come through. Like, just give us 20 different Spider-Man movies. I don't know. Like, stop being so precious about the character and let a bunch of people play Spider-Man, let a bunch of people tell stories. Like, that would be far more interesting to me than the 3 MCU Spider-Man movies that we've gotten. I love comics. I love superheroes. I've been a comic book fan and a superhero fan since 1993. I think the first comic book I got was Darkhawk 19 that came out in like September of 1993. So I've been reading comics for a long, long time, and just all the hope that I had for the genre just feels like it's slowly going down the drain. But then I go back to the Batman and Matt Reeves and the Penguin. Like TV series was great. And that's one of these things where it stepped out from the dominant style that had been put into place by Snyder, like MCU, Gunn even. Maybe we get more things like that. Maybe. You let Christopher Nolan cook with Dark Knights and we get something legendary. It just feels like maybe things have codified too much around like the big, this is what we have to do, rather than staying creative and nimble and exploring more genres and territories and styles than what we've been getting. And then the MCU keeps hiring TV people to do things like Matt Shackman. Perfectly fine, it seemed like, in terms of like this movie from a direction perspective, but he's done primarily TV, and I feel like Ant-Man Quantumanium, the main writer was a Rick and Morty writer, and that's not saying people can't go from one to the other. And I was just saying that you need to have like more dynamics and bring in all these different voices and styles, but it does feel like maybe the MCU being so TV heavy rather than cinema heavy is maybe where some of the disconnect is. I don't know. We'll see. But that's my rant on this. Just didn't quite land for me. And in terms of rating, where did I even put it? Let me bring up these ratings and I'll tell you where I have it. So for 2025, we're talking 2025, I've seen 21 movies right now. I have a newborn. It's been hectic, but I ranked this at number 13 in the neutral category. So that means I have it as a 5 out of 10. So, That's it for now. Until next time, lights, camera, see ya.